Talent is on the plains. Top 10 transfer class has landed. Is it enough?
Midweek report coming at you guys, brought to you by our friends at the Rage Room. If you're in the Auburn, Opelika area and you're looking to get some rage out, visit them at 1510 2nd Ave, Opelika, Alabama. If you're in the Birmingham area, 2616 7th Ave South, downtown Birmingham. You definitely want to go see our friends at the Rage Room. Boss getting on your nerves? Don't slap them. Head to the Rage Room. Just lost your job? Don't do nothing crazy. Just go to the Rage Room. I saw a really cool video of a guy at a Rage Room after a job loss incident. He did some damage, but he did it in the right place. The Rage Room is providing you that convenience. Let them know that the War Report sent you when you walk through. Also, guys, do us a favor and sign up as a member. Join our community. The Green Name Gang in the chat, always coming through strong on these lives. We appreciate you guys helping us keep the work that we're doing here going. $5.99 a month will get you there. We appreciate you guys for doing that. Membership time is extended to those of you who have not made the decision yet, but check your email. We've had lots of memberships given away. Just hit that gifted membership button and you can give the gift of the War Report to somebody who wants to join the Green Name Gang but has not. Also, our friends at the Rogue Shop, visit rogueshop.com, use code REPORT to get 15% off your Rogue Shop order. Pain, sleep, stress, anxiety, whatever else you in life, the Rogue Shop has something that has you covered, making you feel good any way you need to. And our friends at the Vibe Vault, visit them at 3462 Crosswinds Road, Suite I in Phoenix City, Alabama. If you're in the Phoenix City, Columbus area, or if you don't mind making a drive down from Auburn, Opelika, you can visit them to get fresh for the weekend. Not just barbers, lifestyle consultants helping keep the community fresh. Check us out on podcast. Every platform, the War Report is there. The Auburn Express, Uptempo, and College Loop pods, as well as Just a Sec, bringing you guys lots of great audio-only content. Last but certainly not least, check out our merch store. It's time to bug. Summer is here. There are rankings being released, Ike, with Auburn in the top 15. It feels like every week. So people are anticipating a good season for Auburn. You should too, and you can do that by getting yourself some bug merch. We were born to bug. You should be too.
Yes, indeed. Well, we are here to bug a little bit about the transfer portal. We've talked a lot about the recruiting rankings that have happened with all of the great things going on out there for Auburn. But the transfer portal is a big part of college football right now. And you can't be a successful program if you're not filling your needs via the transfer portal. Auburn's done it. Top 10 portal class. Don't care where you look. It's top 10 somewhere. It's 8 on one and 6 on the other.
Yeah.
On 3 and 247 are the ones that do the transfer portal rankings. I think 247 has Auburn as the 8th ranked transfer portal class right now. And On 3 has Auburn at number 6. So top 10, wherever you decide to look, whoever you trust more with their evaluation of these players. And we're going to take a look at the names that are out here on these lists. We'll split it up offense and defense. But Auburn lost, some talent. When I look at the numbers here before we get into the names specifically, 26 departures via the transfer portal for Auburn, 20 players coming back in. So -6 on the total number there. But the question we have to ask ourselves is, did Auburn do a good job? Because it's not just about getting players. It's about filling the needs. Did Auburn do a good job of filling the needs that they had to get out there in the transfer portal? Let's take a look at that. Will you go ahead?
Yeah, before we get into this, let me say this, though. There was a statement made by Hugh Freeze about the importance of building a program through high school recruiting. And there were a lot of people who felt like he was saying that the portal doesn't matter. And nothing he's done since he's been on the Plains has reinforced that fact. They have not ignored the portal. As a matter of fact, they've tried to use it to the best of their ability. I would say they've been a little cautious in the portal, just trying to make sure that if we're going to go out and spend money, we're not just going to do it. It's going to be to do exactly what you just said, fill exact needs that we have. So I applaud them for their efforts in the portal. Keandre Lambert-Smith, one of the best wide receivers in the SEC in college football last year, portal. Eric Singleton comes in as his heir apparent, portal. They've gone out and they found some really, really good guys in the portal. You got Peyton Thorne in the portal. They've tried to go out. Jackson Arnold, your starter for this year, portal. They have not ignored the portal. So I just want to make sure before we get into this list that people understand Hugh Freeze is working this from both ends. He understands that the portal is important, but his point was long-term sustainability is built through high school recruiting still.
Yeah, portal, it absolutely is.
Yeah. I couldn't agree with him more on that point.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be able to do what you do with the high school recruits if you want to have the thing about the portal is most of the guys that you're going to get are going to be kind of stopgap 1 year guys. And with Coach Freeze, and he said this repeatedly, the building of the relationships is the big thing for him. And he feels like he can build those relationships, really get into the character of the young men, whether or not they're going to be a fit a lot better over a process of years recruiting them through high school, starting some of them as early as freshmen, just kind of understanding who he is and who they are a lot better than you can in the couple of weeks that it takes to try to evaluate somebody out of the portal, which is credit to the staff that they have put together to try to figure out whether or not it's a good football fit, and then making a determination whether or not it makes sense to spend the money. That's a whole other thing, but this is the nature of what college football is right now, and they got to make it happen. But let's take a look at it first and foremost here. Guys that are exiting, guys that are coming back or coming in. The defensive departures for Auburn. Keontae Scott was an early portal guy. He, had that JUCO year, so he got an additional year of eligibility, decided to use that and transfer to another school, was at Houston, but has now subsequently gotten back into the transfer portal after the spring. So Keontae Scott no longer with a team right now. He is in the transfer portal right now without a new destination. CJ Johnson left Auburn after the spring, and he has not found a new home as of yet. At least it was not on what I looked at on 247 when putting this graphic together. DJ Reed is at Mississippi State, so Auburn will not see him this year. Antonio Kite is at Ole Miss, again, a team that Auburn does not play. Laquan Robertson and Gage Keys over at Kansas. Now, Gage Keys came from Kansas, transferred to Auburn, and then was like just playing and went back to Kansas during this offseason. TJ Lindsey was one of the highly touted recruits in last year's freshman class, is now over at Purdue. Caleb Wooden at Arkansas, so that is someone who Auburn will see on the schedule this year. Terrence Love went all the way out to Colorado. CJ Hart all the way out to Utah. Tyler Scott is at Georgia State, and Rod Elston at Jacksonville State. As far as players coming in, Tay Seymour from Georgia Tech, Dallas Walker the fourth from Western Kentucky, Rayon Strader from Maryland, Xavier Atkins from LSU, Jay Hardy from Liberty, Rayshawn Pleasant from Tulane, James Ash from Florida A&M, and Chris Murray from Sam Houston. Mike G, when you look at this list, we'll start with the folks that left out. Who do you feel like is the biggest loss out of the transfer portal?
On the way out?
Yeah.
Man, it's tough.
I ain't gonna hold you. I don't know that Auburn's gonna miss any of these guys. Like TJ Lindsey had a high ceiling, but I think based upon what Auburn has in the coffers now, I don't know that any of these are huge losses. I was a big fan of what I thought I was going to see from Laquan Robinson, and Tyler Scott. I thought was going to be a big depth piece in the cornerback room. But I think that Auburn's going to be okay without
Yeah.
these guys here.
I didn't want. It's tough, right? Because I didn't really want to give that answer. It's kind of like after your ex breaks up with you, and you're like, you want shit, no way.
I mean, I don't think that these guys weren't good. Like everybody
Right?
knows, I was a huge Keontae Scott advocate, right?
Yeah, sure.
And but he didn't have a good season last year. And in the role that Auburn was going to need him in this year, they've got a lot of guys that are going to be able to fill that role for him. So and I don't think it's a huge loss in that respect from a leadership standpoint, for sure. Locker room, maybe. But of the defensive guys that are on this list, nobody's jumping out to me as like, oh man, we were really counting on that guy this year.
Yeah, I will say this. I thought Terrence Love had a lot of potential. Laquan
For sure.
Robinson was another guy that I was looking at that I thought would be a significant contributor here. Didn't work out for him. Caleb Wooden, same thing. It's just like, man. And you see these guys, a lot of these are the high school recruit guys that jumped out going to other SEC schools. There are a few on the list. I wish bad on anybody going to Ole Miss. I do not wish you well. I think bad things happen at that school. And hopefully when we have conference realignment, Greg Sankey reevaluates whether they belong in the conference. So Antonio Kite, be careful down there, young man. As far as, the rest of these guys, like I said, as nothing really hurts that much. We heard some noise about JC Hart for a little bit. And I don't know. Like I said, I think that they've done so well filling needs and upgrading talent that this is part of the natural kind of clearing of the roster, so to speak. Right? When you start bringing in 4- and 5-star talent on the regular, some of these guys who don't step up quickly. Now we talk about this at quarterback a lot, but I don't think we relate this to the other positions as much. When you have high-level recruiting, you're going to have. I said this a lot. High-level recruiting means high-level attrition every single year, but it also means that the learning curve is a lot shorter because the guys that you're competing with for starting jobs are trying to pick it up quickly. They're getting in their playbook. They're putting all the extra hours in the weight room. They are moving, and if you are not moving, you're going to get left out.
Yeah.
And you're going to be looking for a home in the portal. So if you're Hugh Freeze, I think Auburn fans need to get used to the fact that now a lot of the guys that are leaving are going to be the guys who truly couldn't cut it. Right? I think that's what this list looks like. It looks like a list of guys who were likely not going to be, they didn't, hey, there was potential there, but you didn't step up fast enough.
Yeah.
And the
well,
guys
I mean, I
that
think
are left,
it's fair to say that should always be the case, right?
it should be. Yeah.
Usually, man, I would hate to be in a position where guys who you're counting on as starters are hitting the portal. Auburn has not really had that kind of attrition yet at any of these positions where it's like this was a presumptive starter for the next season and they're out the door right now. Has not been the case at Auburn. I don't know what Coach Freeze is out there selling to these young men, but it is working because they are sticking to the plan, staying the course. It's clear whatever vision he sold to them, they are not far from that vision as far as the perception within the locker room with the lack of attrition that you're seeing from the talent that Auburn was going to be counting on the next season so far.
Yeah. Agreed. This is such a good problem to have. Looking at that portal list, my heart didn't drop anywhere. There was nobody on the guys going out where I looked at it and said, man, wish we had held on to that guy. Right. And again, that's not a knock to these young men. It's just
right.
A reality is that I don't think that there were any substantial portal losses there defensively. And I believe a lot in what DJ Durkin is building. So I definitely trust their ability to be able to identify needs and put talent in the right places. So I don't know how anybody looks at the results from last year and their faith in that process isn't high.
Yeah.
My faith in that process defensively is high. Now, looking at the guys who are coming in, can we pull the list back up real quick? Here on
I'm trying to load it over here and it's okay. There we go. So with our guys that are returning, or excuse me, coming in from the portal, We've got Taysom Moore, Georgia Tech, Dallas Walker, Western Kentucky, Rayon Strader from Miami of Ohio, Xavier Atkins, LSU, Liberties, Jay Hardy, formerly at Auburn, back at Auburn now. Rayshawn Pleasant from Tulane, James Ash, Florida A&M, Chris Murray from Sam Houston State. So any of these guys jump out to you as like, okay, this is a huge landing for this defense right here. Actually, I'm missing somebody. Caleb Wheatland is not on this list as a linebacker, and I apologize to that young man. I'm going to add that while we're talking, but anybody in your mind?
I like Jay Hardy. Jay Hardy. So he's one name that stands out to me. I'm interested to see what Rayshawn Pleasant is going to be able to do to see if he can, crack the lineup there. But in this, a lot of the second portal window, we knew there were going to be a ton of sexy names in that second portal window. So these guys that came in after the spring, they're going to be on a truncated timetable to try to show that they can be impact players in the fall. That means two things: making sure you're physically ready for the season and making sure you're mentally ready for the season, i.e., do you know the playbook? You know the calls? Yeah. Do you know the assignments, right? Like, how quickly can you translate what's on that piece of paper to, the physical execution on the practice field so that the coaches feel confident that you're going to know your assignment when you're out there. So Caleb Wheatland is another guy, right? Like over 1,000 snaps of experience that he brings in. And so he's one of those guys that I think should be able to do that this summer. He's just got way too much on-field experience, to not be at least somewhat of a factor when the coaches are saying, hey, can he contribute here if we're talking about guys from this list? So I think Caleb Wheatland stands at the top for me just because of how much football experience he brings in from Maryland. But, there's a potential. Every once in a while, there's a name that we didn't really hear of, and he becomes a star somehow. But that's what's happening when, like I said, when you're identifying and developing talent at a high level.
Yeah, I think, I am personally hoping that Strader, I thought he was going to come in and he's going to be gangbusters. We've got such good talent at the defensive back unit right now that he's looking like he's going to be second string, but that depth is absolutely important. And I like the fact that he comes in and can provide instant depth there. The guy who, when he got signed, that I immediately was like, okay, he's going to be a difference maker because I think that they're going to be utilizing him in a sub package form, is Chris Murray, the Sam Houston State transfer, as an edge player. I do think that he is going to be someone who can flash immediately just as a sub package. We need to go get after the quarterback kind of guy, put him in there. He can go out there and make that happen. But I agree with you. The person that stands out the absolute most here is Wheatland, because that linebacker room just does not have guys that have played a lot of snaps, a lot of talent, a lot of very athletic guys that can go out there and move around, but they don't have any guys that have a lot of on the field experience. And so I think he adds that to that room, the maturity necessary to be able to go out there and pick up stuff immediately, and be ready to play immediately, or at least give you some more senior voices in that room to be able to talk through scenarios and really help them understand film, all the things that are necessary to get you ready to play to utilize that speed. Because this has been my problem with the Auburn linebacking core of recent, is you got guys that have all the athleticism, but they're not putting it together on the field. Like a bunch of speed, a bunch of power, but you're not seeing the production. And hopefully this is going to be a year where you've got guys that may not be experienced, but they have the ability to go out there and produce. And hopefully Wheatland can put them in a position again where his leadership can allow folks to be in the right place. And, I'm looking forward to seeing now in the fall what that competition is going to look like for that linebacking core with Wheatland in the room, because it was looking like Auburn was just going to be trying to kind of figure it out. And unlike last year, you don't have that first kind of, what was it? Was it Alabama State last year they played in the first game? Or was it A&M? It was Alabama A&M they played in the first game last year. You don't have that. You're going straight out the gate to Waco to play Baylor on a Friday night. So you need to be ready to hit the ground running. And they
Yeah,
can't really,
good
they don't
point.
have a tune-up is my point. Like this ain't, Baylor's not a tune-up game. Then Baylor might not be some, outstanding program that people are expecting to make the college football playoff, but they are a Power Four program that is trying to be on the ascension the same way that Auburn is. So you don't get an opportunity to just kind of sleepwalk into Waco, Texas Friday. So they need to be ready to play. And so I'm interested to see, particularly from that linebacking core, who steps up and makes it happen to get out there on the field.
It feels like every year we're talking about how that group isn't what we're used to from Auburn. Over the years, Auburn's produced some really, really good linebackers, and protecting that second level for this defense in year 2 of DJ Durkin regime is going to be really important. So, are those guys ball hawks? I'm interested to see how these guys look in pass coverage, and what flexibility you get there from the linebacker core, but mostly stopping the run, plugging the gaps, and not allowing guys to the second level. It's who was the kid's name? We had a linebacker the last few years, and it felt like he had a ton of little light-skinned dude. You know who I'm talking about. He was always in the wrong gap, like always.
Oh, golly. Shoot. He was actually at the pro day recently and then ended up getting like a high school coaching job. I know exactly who you're talking about. For some reason,
Yeah, I
like I'm
always forget
seeing
his name.
his face, but his name is not popping up in my head for some
He
reason.
was whenever we looked at the tape and you would do the film reviews week after week, touchdown given up, right? And you could just see he was always picking the wrong gap, especially in the red zone. So I'll be interested to see if DJ Durkin corrects that with this group of guys this year, right? Like, and it's your linebackers are it's a very cerebral position. You need to be able to see the field, and a lot of defenses, your best linebacker, that guy in the middle, is almost calling the defense in a way, right? He's your field general.
That's what I'm interested to see. Who's going to be the guy with the green dot?
Field general,
Wesley Steiner. Yeah. Thank you,
Wesley
Kenyon.
Steiner. Yeah,
yes, Wesley Steiner.
Boy, Wesley could hit. God, he was always in the wrong gap.
Yeah, man. He was one of my more frustrating watches, going back and looking at film, because golly, man, like I said, he just, God bless him, he had all the athleticism, but he's the prototype of what I mean, of all the athleticism in the world, flying around out there when he was in the right place, and he would stick the running back, like whoever. But I'd be danged if he just wasn't where he was supposed to be so much, or missing tackles when he did get the opportunity to be there. And it just was so frustrating to watch him on film and be like, yo, I think that can't be what the call was. That can't be where you are right now, and cannot be where you were supposed to be. But again, speed, strength. When he would hit, he was hitting, like he was bringing the pads with him.
But man, I love how the chat knew who we were talking about.
Yeah,
the chat knew who we were talking about.
Yeah, man.
Always in the wrong gap, man. It was tough. It was tough because I felt like he had the physical gifts,
for sure.
But again, you've got to be able to process the game mentally faster than Wesley seemed to be able to get here. And so with this group, I don't think they're going to have that problem. I think we're going to see great play from that group this year. And it would be nice when we talk about the best position groups on the team. It was the DBs hands down for a really, really, really long time. And it would be nice to see the linebackers enter that conversation defensively.
Yeah, I want to see the defensive line start to be a more dominant group for real. Like when we look at the defensive linemen on this list, right? You've got Walker, who has not, I don't think has like popped in anybody's estimation in the spring. So I don't know what he's going to do right now for this team. Jay Hardy is an interesting one. So I put a poll out there for those of you who are Green Name Gang. I put the poll out for everybody, but of course my film reviews are only for members. But Jay Hardy overwhelmingly, I think, won the poll for who people are most excited to see film on. I do have Jay Hardy film that I am ready to go out there and get for you guys in my Green Name Gang. So y'all be on the lookout for that. In the next week, I will have Jay Hardy film review for you. But he was been at Liberty the last couple of seasons. And he's a guy, again, that was originally at Auburn and never really got the opportunity on the film. He's intriguing to me because I do think that Jay Hardy has the ability to be a rotational piece for this Auburn team. I'm not certain yet how much Dallas when they first got Dallas Walker, I was like, okay, he's gonna really be able to step in and be kind of a nose, zero technique player. And I don't know that he's really popped in that way right now for them. But that defensive line, James Ash is another one. Florida A&M. I looked at his tape a little bit, and I don't see where he's going to fit in right now as far as rotation is concerned. He's got the size. I'm just not sure. He was getting like the film I have on him is Florida A&M versus Miami. He was getting double teamed a lot in that game. So I do wonder if maybe I look at some of his film versus some other opponents where they can't afford to double team him as much because some of the other guys are able to get off, whether he is able to look a little bit better. But the defensive line unit is the one that I feel like they need to be able to dominate in the trenches. And that's where Auburn has not been dominant of recent, is really in the trench. And we're going to see that so much more when we talk offensive line. But the defensive line, too, just hadn't been dominant. They've been solid, but not dominant. And I want to see some domination there.
Yeah. Domination is good. If they're going to be the top 10 defense that I'm projecting they're going to be, I think we're going to see that sort of play from that group. Again, they've lagged behind in terms of production the last few years. We just have not seen the production out of that linebacker group that I think, Freeze and Durkin would like to see. And but I think they've got a solid plan to get them there. So, man, I'm telling you, I'm looking at Caleb Wheatland here. He's the name that stands out to me. They're going to rotate a ton of guys. And so certainly, I think most of the guys on this list will get a chance to prove at some point.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to go here to the chat before we get to the break, see some of the things that you guys are talking about over here. Our guy, Fire Free, says, wasn't his first portal class top 5-ish as well? I'm waiting to see what it looks like under game conditions. Listen, that first portal class was highly rated, but not very productive. Like, let's be honest. Like, it just wasn't like that class is, had Nick Mardner and, Shorter and like guys that people during camp were like, oh my goodness, I can't wait till you see these guys. And they didn't do anything out there from the wide receiver perspective. No, wait a minute. Nick Mardner and them wasn't with Freeze. Who was in that first portal class for Freeze? I can't even remember.
I'm looking at 247's list. This can't be right. Transferable. Right, because it was at 23. Was that the transfer? Like, would that have been the first transfer portal class? Right, in 23 it was fifth. Right, they had the fifth.
So, Shane Hooks, Larry Nixon, Jair Short. I was right.
Yeah, Caleb Burton the third.
Yeah.
Oh no, he left. He left.
Peyton. No, Caleb Burton came in from Ohio State that year.
Oh, he did. Oh yeah, he did.
That was Peyton Thorne's transfer class.
Gunnar
Jalen McLeod. Okay, that's a good one.
Rivaldo came in that one. Elijah McAllister came in that one. Dylan
McAllister
Wade
was
came
a decent
in that
pickup.
One. Yeah.
D Wade, good pickup. Okay.
Austin Keys.
Brian was a decent pickup.
Wow, I don't know, man. This is pretty good. This is a pretty good class.
It was the wide receivers that were like Shane Hooks.
Oof, man.
Craig McDonald, I don't know if he ever played a real snap. Larry
Justin
Nixon
Rogers
was just kind of okay.
To be a huge one.
Rogers didn't. I mean, he did okay. He made it to the league, but like that class was just kind of. It was a very hit or miss class for sure. For his,
but they were
rated
rated fifth though.
Yeah, but again, I have to go back to Freeze. He hadn't really found the process for getting to evaluating really well, and he was just really getting his foot in the door. So though they were highly rated as far as like talent, I think they were going more for, okay, who's the most talented guy, not necessarily who's the best fit. So hopefully they've gotten that process a little bit better, and I think that they have improved there.
Well, the next year they've got that class rated like 24th, 23rd. And that one was Isaiah Rakes, Keandre Lambert-Smith, Philip Leedy, Antonio Kite, Jaron Thompson.
Okay.
Percy Lewis. Sam Jackson the fifth,
Yeah.
Robert Lewis, Rico Walker,
Oh, Rico Walker. Okay.
Trill Carter,
Trill. Jaquez
Jaquez
Robinson was in that
Robinson.
class.
Yeah,
Finaje Gote was in that
yeah.
class.
Kieron Crawford.
Keyron. Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's a pretty good class.
Yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
but
So I mean,
I mean, they
I think
rated down.
they've gotten better every year with trying to figure this out. Because listen, nobody can argue Keandre Lambert Smith by himself is better than every wide receiver they brought in that first class.
Right. Yeah, that's
So.
facts. I mean, that's a literal fact. That's as true as gravity. Like, he crushes. I don't know. He might be the best pickup they've had in the portal since they've started portal.
I think that's arguably like I don't know that I wouldn't argue that too tough. I'd have to go back and think about it some more maybe, but it's difficult for me to think of anybody who has been a bigger impact transfer than Keandre Lambert Smith has been.
Yeah, this class right now for Auburn is ranked 8th. So, like I said, I mean, if you're in the top 10 in anything, I think you've done a pretty good job at least bringing in guys that have the potential. Auburn's bigger issue is just how these guys are developing and what they're doing with them. Yeah. But they certainly haven't had an issue getting talent in the door. And it seems to me that they're attacking the portal very strategically in a smart way rather than just going out and trying to get, throwing dollars, bodies. But you have to now. I mean, they're in a place where these guys, if they're going to be productive guys, they're not free anymore, right?
Yeah.
And so there's an unspoken salary cap that exists when they're evaluating these guys, saying, not only do we need these guys, but can we afford to get them?
Right.
Can we actually afford to bring these dudes in? Remember, everybody was screaming for Cam Ward last offseason. Now, he was the number 1 pick in the NFL draft, albeit in kind of like a weaker QB class, but still, I mean,
he would have been transformational, but like to your point, like they didn't have the money to bring Cam Ward in. They just
right, like,
or they weren't. Let me not say that they were not willing to spend that much money on a single player last season.
$2 million is what was rumored to be the number at the time. With the numbers that we're hearing now, it feels like $2 million is nothing for a top portal QB. But certainly, I think Auburn fans would have taken a Cam Ward last year. He would have been good for a couple of wins, certainly. Sure. But if you're looking at a more long-term approach to building a program, there's no reason to go spend a bunch of money and reach for a 1-year guy that you're not really building a program on, especially if you don't expect to compete for championships that year. I think the way to look at this is if, let's say, Freeze felt like Auburn was 1 QB away from winning the SEC, then you drop $2 million on Cam Ward.
Right.
But he's probably looking at it and say, look, man, we need a whole hell of a lot of things right now. So, yes, he's a great quarterback, but that's not going to come close to solving all of our issues offensively. Let's spend the money elsewhere and look at this more long-term in terms, again, where he was clear about his belief about high school recruiting.
They put that money into the high school recruiting.
High school recruiting, yeah.
All right, a couple more here. We'll get to the break. Ant Robinson said, speaking of Laquan Robinson, didn't want to play linebacker. To be honest, if he would have stayed, he probably would have started.
Okay.
Let's see. Connor Hall says, Wheatland is going to be another Mousy vet in the room and plays solid. I would take a Dorian Mousy kind of guy in that room for sure. I liked what Dorian brought to the team last year. Also, he says Atkins has good potential. Xavier Atkins, the LSU guy, definitely has a lot of athleticism, a little undersized, but his athleticism pops off as far as his speed and kind of his recognition from what I've heard about Xavier Atkins. So looking forward to, again, the competition for that linebacker spot to me is going to be fierce coming up this fall. I'm looking forward to seeing who all lands in there. All right, let's get to the break, and we're going to talk about the offensive side because I know that is what y'all want to talk about. When we talk about this stuff, offense is always a thing that everybody wants to hear about, especially when you have a head coach that is an offensive coach. Can this offensive transfer class be impactful? We talked about Keandre Lambert Smith and how impactful he was. Is there a Keandre Lambert Smith in this transfer class on offense. We'll talk about it on the other side of this break. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, share the content. We'll be right back after this word from the sponsors. This edition of the War Report is brought to you by our generous sponsors. The Opelika Rage Room in Opelika, Alabama. The Rage Room is a place where anger and stress find their ultimate release. Call or text 334-777-6688 to set up a session today, or check them out online at opelikaRageRoom.com. Golden's Cast Iron. Whether you work out, grill out, or chill out, you deserve the best life possible, and Golden's Cast Iron is here to provide the tools to help you do it. Check them out at goldenscastiron.com.
As always, we want to thank our title sponsor, The Rage Room. Check the addresses there on the screen. Whether you're in Opelika or Birmingham, there's a place for you to go get some frustration out. Please go visit them. Let them know that the War Report sent you. Also, guys, join as a member. Hit that join button. Join the Green Name Gang. Lots of stuff going on behind that paywall that you want to get in on. Office hours, film reviews, some things that we do exclusively for our members, and they help keep our work going here. So we appreciate them for doing that. Our friends at the Rogue Shop, visit rogueshop.com. Use code REPORTER, get 15% off that Rogue Shop order. Pain, stress, anxiety. When life hits, the Rogue Shop is there to have something to keep you calm. So please go visit them and use code REPORTER. Also, visit our merch store and get yourself some bug. Lots of reasons to bug. We're talking about reasons to bug right now on the show, and you can show that off on a t-shirt, on a hoodie, on a zip up, on a hat. Lots of cool stuff there. Visit the merch store and get your bug merch today. Check us out on podcasts, every single podcast platform. The War Report is there, bringing you lots of great audio-only content. The Auburn Express, Up-Tempo, College Loop, and Just a Sec pods. So whether you're on your way to work or on your way to the gym, dropping the kids off at school, the War Report has you covered with all your favorite Auburn content. And guys, if you're watching this live on replay, do us a favor, and you want to show some love, hit that super thanks button there in the comments. If you want to show us a little bit extra love on the show, we appreciate our live super chats. This is a way for you guys to get in on that action after the fact. We're going to come up with a way to acknowledge the super thanks from the comments here on the live shows in the future. So please don't forget to do that.
Yes, indeed. All right. So talking transfer portal, Auburn top 10 transfer portal class. A lot of talent coming to the Plains. Let's look at the offensive talent, both exodus and entry. We have, of course, Walker White, who hit that portal, headed to Baylor. Auburn will see him very soon. Sam Jackson, the fifth, is at Oklahoma State. Percy Lewis at Ole Miss. So Percy Lewis came from Mississippi State, came to Auburn, and then now at Ole Miss. So he just really hated Mississippi State, apparently. Camden Brown is at Georgia Southern. Hank Brown is at Iowa. Micah Riley is at Texas A&M. We will see Micah Riley down the road this season. Caleb Burton is at UConn. E.J. Harris at Middle Tennessee. Brayton Joyner at Purdue. Holden Gerner at Texas State. Dylan Gentry at Jack State. And Rico Walker, who has just recently entered his name into the transfer portal, does not have a destination yet. Coming in via the transfer portal, we have Jackson Arnold from Oklahoma, Horatio Fields from Wake Forest, Ashton Daniels from Stanford, Eric Singleton Jr. from Georgia Tech, Darrell Robinson from UConn, Xavier Chaplin from Virginia Tech, Mason Murphy from USC. I don't know why I have Caleb Wheatland on this list, but he is on here for some reason. Oh, that's why I didn't have him on the defensive list. I put him on the wrong list initially for this one. All right. Preston Howard from Maryland, Connor Gibbs from Georgia Southern, and Hudson Cott from, I don't know why I have to say that man's name like that, from Oklahoma State. As far as guys who have exited again from the transfer portal out there, Mike G, who of these guys do you feel like Auburn is going to miss the most?
Okay, so I have some different feelings about the offensive list. I was not moved emotionally by the defense. Offensively, God, I hated to see Michael Riley go out the door before he got a chance to do anything as a Auburn Tiger. That one definitely hurts. Walker hurts for reasons. not because I feel like, oh my God, what are we going to do with generational talent walked out the door? He is very, very talented. But it just kind of sucked. Like, man, he recruited so hard for Auburn.
Yes, he did.
He was diehard orange and blue. He handled himself very well while he was here. I know there were a lot of fans that misconstrued a comment that he made after he left, and I don't really. I thought his comments were fair. It's his situation to talk about.
It was taken out of context when it was posted. That's the problem.
Yeah, it was, and I got a chance to talk to him about that. So he was I know he was very frustrated, feeling like he was asked a question specifically about something, and the answer was given without the context of the question in the tweet by the particular reporter. And if I could say, look, man, I know the guy who reported that is been doing this a lot longer than we have, and he's way bigger. But like, this is part of why these guys don't trust the media. It's so hard for us to get them to talk to us because they're afraid to say something that they think is benign, and then suddenly it's going to be in the media. Oh, Walker White said that Hugh Freeze is a terrorist. Like, no, he didn't say anything crazy. He just said, look, man, I had to go find my situation here, and I want to win wherever I go. It just happens to be it's Auburn's first opponent of the season that he transferred to. So, at the end of the day, I'm looking at that list and I'm thinking, man, it hurt to see Walker go. It hurt to see Michael Riley go. I think was Sam Jackson out? He was out of eligibility, wasn't he? Or did he?
No, he had another year and he transferred. He's at Oklahoma State. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Like I didn't see. I don't think that. I never thought that Sam Jackson would have a serious role here. So that never really that didn't hurt any. But yeah, there are some names on that list I think that make me think, man, what could have been if they had stuck around or if they had developed a little bit quicker. Ultimately, though, I will say there's nobody on that list that's irreplaceable.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I may feel
the
like
two guys for me would have been Michael Riley, and I was a big Braden Joyner fan. I liked what he gave as far as depth, particularly at being able to play there on the interior on the offensive line. But yeah, Michael Riley, I loved Michael Riley because he could do everything, right? Like he was physical when he was out there blocking more so than any of the other tight ends. I felt like he can catch the football. He catches everything thrown in his direction. He wasn't like a speedy guy, but he could run a little bit. He was going to go out there and play special teams for you. I really liked Michael Riley. And considering kind of the direction that the tight end room has taken, it's hard for me not to believe Michael would have been one of the top two guys out there in that room this year. But he didn't feel as if that was the case for him. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of good reason for having conversations with the coaches about kind of where he was in the pecking order. He decided it was best for him to leave. But yeah, he's probably the only one that I'm just like, I don't know. From a depth perspective, I definitely wanted to see Walker White stick it out. But when you go and you really look at it, I understand why he left, because I don't know that he jumps Deuce Knight in that pecking order for quarterback. Like it's going to be a Jackson Arnold show this year, and it's going to be Deuce Knight's show of the future. And I don't know that Walker White ever really would have been able to jump in there. So it made sense for him to leave in respect to that. So
just like we mentioned in the last segment, again, the level of recruiting that they're doing necessitates that the guys that they do bring in pick things up quickly. You don't have time to dawdle around and take years to get it if you want to play, right? You come in, be about your business, get in your playbook, make sure that you are physically in good shape for the season. Take it seriously, because I'm telling you, like, one of the things that we've noted about some of the more consistent programs in college football, guys like Nick Saban, they're not afraid to let a player walk. The next 5-star is waiting there, chomping at the bit to get in. And that's what Hugh Freeze is trying to build. He's trying to build a program where if you are a 4-star or a 5-star, but you come in and you don't want to work, you better be damn good.
Yeah.
Because there's a guy behind you who's willing to put in the work to outwork you for that position. And if you're Hugh Freeze, like I said, you may be the more talented guy, but if you're not generational, I'm playing the guy who put the work in.
Yeah.
All I have are 4 stars and 5 stars. So there's no reason not to. I expect him to be able to do it just as well as you. So, a notice to these guys. I get it. The players asked for a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
But there are things that come along with some of the things they asked for, and I think reality is hitting a lot of them in the face now. Right? You wanted to be able to transfer whenever you wanted to, and that has worked against a lot of guys who have hit the portal and found out and got lost and didn't find a home or
Yeah.
ended up in worse situations.
Yeah, I mean, because listen, but here's the thing: your worst situations for sure. But like, again, as long as you're willing to take the step down and go get film, go do that, man. Because you're not going to get film sitting on the bench. But make sure wherever you go that you're going to be somebody who's going to play there, right? Like, don't just like get in the transfer portal with a plan. And that's the only thing. I think some people are making emotional decisions and they haven't stopped to make a plan before they hit the portal. And they're not being diligent enough before that deadline hits to try to figure out, like, okay, where do I sit with this? Like, how do, like, every week you need to be talking like, coach, hey, where I'm not getting these reps. I'm not getting these reps. How do I improve my, and if you're not feeling like you're making any motion, but you're doing all the stuff you're being asked to do, then it's time to leave, right? Like, we just talked about Mike O'Reilly, right? And hopefully he doesn't mind, I'm not going to get too much into his situation, but he's a guy that was asked to do a lot of things and he felt like he was doing all the stuff he was being asked to do. And he didn't feel like his stock was changing any. So he's just like, all right, man, well, clearly you guys don't have a vision for my future here. Let me go find some place that does.
Yeah.
That's the right thing to do. That's how you're supposed to hit the transfer portal. Is you have the conversations with the coaches, you figure out what it is that they feel like you're in deficit with, you try to work on those things, and if you feel like you've done those things and your situation doesn't change, hit the portal. That's the right way to do it.
I don't think that Michael would mind us saying that part, right?
Yeah.
Like, he had the conversations with them about the things that he felt like that they wanted him to do.
Mm-hmm.
How do I move up this depth chart? Because I feel like I'm doing X, Y, Z. So if you have some examples of how I'm not doing that, please let me know. And
Right.
those two things never seem to align for this staff and Micah. And so eventually he just said, you know what? We can't get on the same page here. I don't know that I can do any more than I'm doing. It's just up to you that whether you play me or not.
Right.
But what I don't want to do here is sit here and then you bring in the next guy over me. And you're more invested than that guy because the money, like, I'm going to become that guy. I'm going to go hit the portal and then be the guy that comes in over the guy who's in my situation at my school, at my next school.
Right.
You're right. That's absolutely the right way to handle that. When we look at this list, I think fans would be surprised how many conversations like that are happening where it's in Micah's case, you're with a coach who inherited you as well too. So his perception of your talent is not the same as the guy that recruited you. And in some cases, like Jarquez Hunter, Freeze, before he even coached him a single practice, said he's the best back I'm going to have ever coached.
Right.
They hadn't coached him a practice. But Micah was in a very different situation where, like, he didn't have the tape at the time. We saw kind of like flashes of it. We heard how good he was catching the ball. He's got size. He's got speed. He was the best blocker in that tight end room, I think, by a long shot. And he just never got the chance here.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. But yeah, my heart's not.
Hopefully he'll get an opportunity at Texas A&M, but it did not seem like it was going to come together here.
It wasn't going to come here. Yeah. I think that's the point, right? Whether it happens there or not is irrelevant, right? It just wasn't going to happen here. So, but these are the things, and I cannot wait for the day, Ike, when fans are no longer acting like the world has ended because we lost one guy. Some guy hits the portal, it's like, oh man, what's going on in there? What are they doing? No, this happens every single year at the best programs.
Yeah.
You stack talent, and it eventually, and the cream of the crop rises to the top. And the guys who didn't make it like first string or close second doesn't mean that they don't have talent. High level recruiting, high level attrition. It's going to happen. Talented guys are going to walk out of your program all the time. You know, and hopefully,
especially. Go ahead.
no, I'm sorry. All I was adding was hopefully the coaches are just having honest conversations with them about where they actually stand, so
Right.
they're not wasting their time.
For sure. But what I was going to say, especially when you have talent coming back in the door. So let's look at the folks that are here from the transfer portal on offense. And you've got Jackson Arnold. Listen, like we've talked about Jackson Arnold many times, but before I even ask the question, he better be one of the best transfers on this list. Like, I don't know whether he's going to be, but he better be. Right? Like, I'm not saying he's got to be a Heisman guy, but he better be one of the best performers that is on this list right now, or you're in trouble this season. Horatio Fields from Wake Forest, Ashton Daniels from Stanford, Eric Singleton Jr. from Georgia Tech, Darrell Robinson from UConn, Xavier Chaplin, Virginia Tech, Mason Murphy, USC, Preston Howard from Maryland, Connor Gibbs, the punter from Georgia Southern, and then Hudson Cock, the Oklahoma State kicker who came over. Again, the question is, who's going to be the guy? Who is this year's Keandre Lambert-Smith off of this? I mean, I feel like you could go with the other guy who's the wide receiver there, Eric Singleton Jr., potentially as a Lambert-Smith. But who's going to be the biggest impact player that came in from the transfer portal on this offensive side, in your opinion, Mike G?
Looking at this list here, I love what you said about Jackson Arnold. Like, I don't know if he is going to be, but he better be. They better not have missed on another quarterback that they're handing the starting job right out of the gate. I have zero issues with them handing him the job because I think he's capable and I think he's good. I think Jackson Arnold is good. I think he's better than good. I think he has the potential to be excellent, but we just need to see it. And we'll see how close he gets to that excellence this year. But, God, it's hard not to look at Eric Singleton Jr., right, and think, oh, my goodness, they did it again. They went to the portal and found another dynamic wide receiver. I have so many questions about how they're going to rotate these guys and how they're going to get everybody enough time on the field to keep these receivers happy. When you talk about stacking talent, guys walking out of your program, the wide receiver room is the one to watch, because they are absolutely loaded. Horatio Fields had a great spring. If we're to believe the hype, Sam Turner is the next coming of Wes Welker or whatever. Like, at the end of the day, they've got so much talent in the wide receiver room. I don't even know what they're going to do with it all. Now, Xavier Chaplin is an interesting one.
That was who I was going to mention as the guy who listen, we just talked about the trenches on the defense. Man, Xavier Chaplin needs to be everything he's advertised to be. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, it would be nice on the offensive side of the ball when we start talking about the best position groups if the offensive line would enter the chat for a change.
Yes.
So much goes with your offensive line. It's hard to run an effective offense when you can't run block and you can't pass block. Period. That's it. So
listen, a lot of people, listen, I made the statement Jackson Arnold needs to be the best guy on this list, or he needs to be an impact player on this list. He absolutely does. And a lot of it's being made of how poor he played last season at Oklahoma, but you can't do that and acknowledge the fact that Oklahoma had an awful offensive line last year. Can Auburn protect Jackson Arnold where it becomes very clear if Jackson Arnold isn't the guy, it's because he's not the guy, not because he's not able to ever make a pass because he's having to take off running 2 seconds, well, not even 2 seconds, like 0.5 seconds after he catches the daggone snap from shotgun. Can they protect him enough for the decisions that he makes to be clearly poor decisions on his part, not because he's getting pressure immediately?
Yeah. One of the names to watch on this list as well is Ashton Daniels. Now, he wasn't here for the spring, but he brings in an astounding amount of actual experience.
True.
We know Deuce Knight had a better spring than a lot of people anticipated. I think Deuce heard all that talk about people calling him a project and said, I got your project right here.
Mm-hmm.
Had a great spring. And he is clearly trying to make the sort of move that we expected from Walker last year.
Right.
So if you're Ashton, you were thinking, look, I'll come in and Deuce is going to be a true freshman, so he's probably not going to be the next in line. And I bring a bunch of starting experience at the former P5 level, I guess. And if Jackson Arnold doesn't work out, I have a chance at a SEC school to step in and show what I can do. Deuce Knight has thrown a wrench at those plans. He 100% has thrown a wrench at those plans, and they are way more invested in Deuce than they are in Ashton Daniels, I guarantee you. But he is a name to watch, because if Auburn, for some reason, has an early season injury, you don't wish injury on anybody. First of all, I'm just saying, if for some reason you need your backup quarterback early in the season, and I don't think that Jackson Arnold is going to play poorly, which is why I mentioned injury. I think that's the only way that happens. Then Ashton Daniels, I would think, as long as he knows enough of the playbook, would be the next guy up early in the season.
I don't disagree with that. If he's ready from a grasp of the playbook standpoint, I don't know that you have to throw Deuce Knight out there immediately.
Yeah, game 2 or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Unless game 2 is against, two of your scheduled cream puffs. But if it's game, 4, that's your SEC opener. So it would be difficult, I think, to throw Deuce out there at that point. And if we do see them do that, it would really mean, boy, Deuce has become they would be displaying an extreme confidence in that young man that I'm telling you is hard to garner as a freshman. Either that, or they're going to try to manage him so that he doesn't make mistakes. But Ashton Daniels is a name to watch on this list, I think. Right?
Yeah.
Jackson Arnold, it's hard. It's hard to talk about, because we know he's going to start. Like, we know what Jackson Arnold is. We've seen way too much of him. And we know why they went out and got him. They got him. They brought him here to be Auburn's starting quarterback in 2025.
For sure.
So, like you said, it's just, I don't have any questions about Jackson other than at the end of the season, like you said, we better be sitting here talking about how what a great pickup that was.
Listen, I can't have a Peyton Thorne conversation about Jackson Arnold where it is whose fault is it that Peyton Thorne didn't perform.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like that became it wasn't because Peyton Thorne's not talented enough, or what? I don't want to have that conversation around Jackson. Like, the talent is clearly there around him. Is the offensive line going to be able to protect him? Are you going to call the right plays? It needs to be very clear. Well, Jackson Arnold just wasn't that dude, and let's move on. Like, I don't want to have the Peyton Thorne conversation about this dude, bro. Like,
yeah.
And again, that's not about his production, right? Like, because I think Peyton Thorne could have been more productive. The fact that there is even any debate as to whether or not this was about Peyton Thorne's talent or whether or not he was the guy is where it becomes frustrating, because you're like, well, there's so many things wrong that no, I can't just pin it on him. Yes. Now, what I can say with 100% certainty is if there was a transformative type of quarterback person, yes, Auburn would have won more games, even with the bad play calling, even with the offensive line being what it was, even with, not having the receivers in the right, like if you got like that dude at quarterback, a lot of that stuff isn't going to matter. I can say that with 100% certainty. But to the point you've made over and over again, they could have done more with Peyton Thorne and didn't. Year 1 was tragic what they did with Peyton Thorne. I don't understand what happened year 1, Peyton Thorne, at all in the way that those plays were called. Year 2, better, but still not where it needed to be. I don't want to have this conversation for a third year in a row with a different quarterback. I just don't.
Yeah, I mean, we shouldn't be having any conversation about why quarterback is struggling, like, period. This is year 3. So if Jackson isn't a dude and you picked wrong again.
Right.
With the resources that you have. It's just hard. Like, man, go out there and drop the bag on the guy. It's Auburn. You can get a guy to come here, man, with with enough money. You got Nico out here asking for $4 million in the portal. He didn't get it. But what he did get, I know Auburn has that. 1.7.
Yeah.
They got that for the guy that they want. So while you're out here making decisions about where to spend the money, we cannot have a third year talking about how QB play is not up to snuff. That's just not going to cut it.
Yeah. I promise you, I don't want to have that conversation.
Yeah.
Going
Year
into
3.
Which week is our first SEC game?
It's week 4.
Week 4. Going to Oklahoma, right?
I believe so. Yes.
If we are exiting that week 4 game and we're having a quarterback conversation, I will probably. I don't even know what kind of disappointment will permeate into the profanity I will have in that post game. I just don't know. Like I don't want to. I don't want to, bro.
It's difficult. We put this up on the other show, and so we love visuals here, so I'm gonna put this up just so people can see, right? Like this is the schedule. And so you kick it off with Baylor, Ball State there. And then you get Oklahoma September the 20th. So Oklahoma would be the SEC opener.
Yeah.
Right.
On the road against your former team, all the motivation in the world, bro. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on, man. I can't. I won't. We're not doing this, fam.
It's Jackson Arnold versus the team he just transferred from for your SEC opener. That is made for TV stuff. And we cannot. Jackson has to get Jackson's revenge.
This has to be a Jackson Arnold revenge game. It's got to be, bro.
Jackson's revenge. Make it a
You
Netflix
cannot
special.
prove every Oklahoma fan who doubted you right. You can't do it.
You can't do it. You cannot do it. So Jackson's revenge Netflix special premiering September the 20th. Jackson's Revenge sounds like a teenage drama. Sounds like some Degrassi stuff.
Or some kind of stomach virus.
I can't with this. The schedule, man, I'm telling you, sets up so well. Let me just look at this one more time. Get by Baylor, right? And you start the season 3-0, Ike. Then you get Oklahoma, A&M, and Georgia. And it looks like they have a bye week between A&M and Georgia. Am I looking at that? Well, yeah, there's definitely a bye week there.
Yes.
So 4-2, we've talked about this all. 4-2 with this group of guys that you have that you brought in from the portal should be a reality in those first 6 games. 4-2, guys. That's it. That's all we're asking for. 3-3 would be rough, but you can survive from it. The next 5 games are all super winnable. Missouri, Arkansas, Kentucky, Vanderbilt, and Mercer. As we sit here today, tell me which one of these teams is definitely better than Auburn.
Yeah.
After Georgia.
Yeah, there's not one. Not definitely.
You have a chance to go into the Iron Bowl an 8 or 9 win team. And absolutely start to turn the tide on the conversation about what that rivalry means, because Alabama's been dominating it. They've been dominating it. Time to start with the group of guys that you have. Now, I think Jackson Arnold's already beat Alabama, hasn't he?
He did last year.
Yeah, he owns a win over Alabama. So should be right at home with the game that's right at home.
Yeah.
Beat Oklahoma, beat Alabama, and Auburn's probably having a really, really good season. So I don't, it's funny. We talk about those first 3 SEC games in the first half. You just have to come out of that stretch 1 and 2. And if you can get out of that stretch 1 and 2, you've got a chance to have a really, really good season. But if you go over, to start, the conversations that we're going to have are going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah. I
So
listen. I'm telling you, man. I'm going.
too much
We
talent.
we might get demonetized. Is all I'm saying, bro.
Yeah, it's
That's
too
all I'm
much
saying.
talent. That's what this episode is about. Essentially, this live is about the staggering amount of talent that Auburn has brought in.
Yeah, but between the freshman classes, plural,
They've
in
done
the
such a
last
good job.
couple, and the transfer portal, you have stacked plenty of talent, and it is time to start seeing that manifest into wins, not progress, because I think progress should have come in year 1 and 2. It needs to be in wins this year. Because you saw some progress offensively that did not translate to wins. I need to see the dubs this year. Let me get over here to this chat and get some more of these guys involved in this conversation. Appreciate everybody who has jumped in and given your thoughts. Connor Hall says Ward, KLS, Coleman, Hunter could have been a nasty offense. Could have been, but that was not a thing. Here's my thing and why I started this comment. I think yes, Cam Ward would have been a great addition to last year's offense. I think Cam Ward being added would have derailed that quarterback room a year earlier than what it derailed the quarterback room with the addition of Jackson Arnold did this year. You think about how many guys like Peyton Thorne left because he graduated, but Walker White, why is
I
my
see what
brain?
you're saying. Yes,
Yeah, like you
absolutely.
lost 3 other quarterbacks that could have potentially been on this roster. If you had brought Cam Ward in last year, you probably would have lost 3 quarterbacks Holden Gerner is probably not staying around last year. You
Yeah.
probably would have had just Cam Ward and Walker White in that quarterback room, if we're being honest. Because Peyton Thorne is definitely not going to stay and sit behind Cam Ward with
Yeah,
his
not for his
final
last
year
year.
of eligibility. That's not happening, right? And so you speed up that process of derailing that quarterback room a year earlier than you did this year, if that happens more than
Well,
likely.
that's what I was saying when I said, at the end of the day, they didn't go get a Cam Ward because they felt like they were more than a quarterback away. So there was no reason to make that move then because it's not like he had a ton of eligibility left. He was always going to be a guy that played for 1 year and it was gone,
Right.
and it wasn't worth upsetting the flow of what they're trying to build.
Right, because at that point in time, you didn't know what you had, whether you had something in Walker White or not. So, do you want to upset that situation, right? You still have a little bit of faith in the other guys that you've got in the room, as far as the future is concerned. And then, it ends up not panning out, right? But still, there's just no reason why you would want Hank Brown to have exited at that point in time. Because Hank Brown, you thought you could turn to Hank Brown at that point in time and say, hey, maybe you could be the future of this program, right? And so, I just don't know that it would have helped in the win-loss column last year. Would it have helped in the overall growth of your program year over year? I don't know the answer to that. Don't know because Miami did okay, right? Like they went out and got a really good quarterback again, but Miami is now in the cycle, right? Because they went out and got Cam Ward, and then they went out here and got what's your boy's name from Georgia that went down there to Miami? Why is my brain farting on that?
Carson Beck.
He went out and got Carson Beck, but Carson Beck is one and right. So they're in the cycle now where every year they have to hit a home run in the portal at quarterback because they don't have a long-term plan. It doesn't appear at quarterback there. They just don't have it. So you got to go do that every single year and hit a home run. And if you miss 1 year, you're screwed. So
yeah, this is why building the pipeline I think is so important, and why we keep hammering home that point is that cannot be in a position where you're constantly looking for saviors at QB in the portal. There's got to be a natural succession, at least I would say every now in portal area, every third quarterback starter, right? You can go to the portal and look for a guy if you're in a weird rotation or some young guy doesn't develop the way that you thought that they were going to. But
it'd be nice to get two years out of a starter, though.
Yeah. It should be Jackson, Deuce. And then if you don't have the guy that clear heir apparent from high school at that point, you go to the portal, you get that guy, and then you start that guy, another guy, and then portal again. I could dig that rotation, which is where I think Texas is going to be at with Ewers, right? Now, mind you, Ewers transferred in to Texas, but let's be real. Like,
But they got
it was almost
multiple
like he
years
was
out of
never
him.
at Ohio State, right? Like,
Yeah.
it was like he was never there. So you got Ewers, you got Manning, and then after Arch Manning, it's reasonable to think that there may not be another generational QB just sitting there waiting to take over. So maybe Texas has to go to the portal to find a guy while they recruit that next generational guy from high school. I would like to see something like that. What I don't want to see, because I don't know if they're capable of it, and this is a conversation that me and my guy Thrift Behringer from Sports Visions had, over on the Auburn Express. Go check out that episode. But Lane Kiffin seems to I'll just go get one from the portal. I don't know if we've seen him develop a high school QB since he's been at Ole Miss.
Not yet. So
Not
this will be the first year. I think the guy that they have starting this year will be the first guy who came out of high school, and he's going to be a starter then. So we'll see how it goes.
Interesting. Yeah. I thought he was a transfer, but I just got so used to them transferring that, I thought that's what that was. At the end of the day, you're looking at this and you're thinking to yourself, all right, I have an opportunity here to build something special. I have an AD that is doing backflips in the media to let everybody know this is a rebuild. John Cohen, I mean, look, dude, the function of the athletic director at Auburn to hire and fire football coaches. That is the thing you will be judged by, assuming there's no misconduct of any kind, of any sort. But as far as job performance is concerned, it almost doesn't matter how the other sports do if football is thriving. And I hate to tell you, that includes basketball. Your AD can survive a bad basketball program here if football is thriving.
That's
so
factual. And to your point, the other way around is not true. Basketball could be doing great and football sucks, and you're out of a job.
And you still get fired. Yeah. That's it. So in this case, Bruce Pearl isn't even his hire. All he has to do is just not mess that up. Somebody else brought him in over a decade ago. And now you told the world, after you flirted with Lane Kiffin, that Hugh Freeze was the choice the whole time. And we're here. And I like that they're getting behind their decision financially, from a public relations standpoint as well too. I think you have to do that. You have to present a united front to let recruits know we have stability here. I know we've run through a couple coaches in the last few years, but we're sticking with Hugh Freeze. He's going to be here. Whatever he's selling, you can buy it. And we've got the money to put behind him to make sure that it's successful. If you have not been to the Waltos Performance Center, holy crap, man. Yeah. For those people who have not been there, what a $90 million football-only facility. I've seen a few of these. I had a chance to go to Oregon's up in Eugene some years back. Impressive.
Yeah.
Their football-only facility is really, really impressive. And, in recruiting, all that stuff matters. So if you're Freeze, you got all these tools in your belt. And then when you get these portal guys, they come here and they see these things and they say, hey, that's where I want to play football.
Right.
As long as this guy knows what to do with my talent, I can see myself fitting in here. You got a diehard fan base. And that's not homerism talking. Auburn fans sold out that crap season last year. They showed up. They showed up to every single game with enthusiasm. And then when they got the 5th win of the season, they rushed the field, and if they could have, they would have torn down the goalpost and threw it over the side of the stadium. They celebrated like they won the SEC championship that day. You have all the support you need. Just take Jackson Arnold and Eric Singleton Jr. and take this thing a step further. Now, what's a step further? That's well over 3,000 yards passing for Jackson Arnold. Payne Thorne got 2,700 yards last year and a dysfunctional season on a minimal amount of throws for the 2,700 that he got, and he sat out a game and a half. Assuming Jackson doesn't have to miss any time, dude, there's no reason he shouldn't be in the 3,300 yard range throwing the ball.
He should. Yeah.
I don't want to see him with 100
all these
plus
darn
rush
receivers.
attempts.
Yes.
Right. Don't want to see him with 100 plus rush attempts on the season. Leave that to Damari and Jeremiah. And use I would like to see him with a solid 300 or 400 yards rushing on unscheduled, I use my athleticism to save the play type plays. But I want to see Jackson Arnold sit back there and absolutely dissect defenses with his arm. Because I think that these guys have proven what you saw from Perry Thompson at A-Day was him letting the world know, if you throw the ball anywhere within 3 yards of me, I'm going to catch it. Those are the type of guys he has to throw to.
Right.
I don't want to see him throw late, but, if he does, that he has the type of receivers that can adjust to throws that are slightly off. And, fans have been on this trip. We talked a lot about ball placement, a lot of film review segments that we've done in the past, not being the best and putting too much stress on the receiver. If Jackson Arnold is marginally accurate this season, he's going to have a great year statistically.
Yeah, because the targets that he's throwing to should be guys that the wide receiver conversation that we have been having over the up until last year, that conversation is so dead. It's just dead. I just don't even want to hear it, bro. We got the guys out there, so we got to make it happen this season. And it needs to look good early. It needs to look good early.
Yeah. You have some grace in the first couple games. I think they can win. I'm okay with them winning an ugly game versus Baylor, Ike.
For sure. Yeah. But win. I don't really care. I'll get on here and bitch and moan about how terrible it looks, blah, blah, but I'll be happy with a dub. And then you got a couple of get right games where you can go out there and fine tune some stuff and go put up 70 points on a couple of opponents, and people are going to be, oh my God, they're 3-0. And look how many, and the offense looks great. Then we get to overly book as they go into Oklahoma and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it starts with getting the win. I don't care if it's on a last second field goal block, where Baylor lined up for the field goal and you block. I don't care. Just win.
Yeah. So just go out and get it done. They have the ability to do that. I feel confident about their ability to do that, and we'll see where it lands. But we've looked at both sides of the ball here, offense and defense. There are some impressive names, offensively even more so. But defense wasn't the issue last year, so I wasn't expecting to see a ton on the defensive side together. They just needed the plug needs here and there, and I would like to see them bring the defensive line up to an SEC standard.
For sure.
But offensively, you got your guy at quarterback. Jackson and Deuce both have the potential to be generational guys. Guys that when we look back on some of the more fond seasons in Auburn history, we say, remember that year we had Jarrett Stidham? Remember that year we had Nick Marshall? Remember that year Cam just did everything? Remember Jason Campbell's breakout year? Remember when Brandon Cox delivered an 11-2 season? Come on, man. It's the potential is there for this. So, this is going to be this is going to be either the hallmark or the absolute bane of Hugh Freeze's tenure at Auburn. His ability to be able to recruit, identify, and develop QBs. They're doing a good job stacking the talent around him, and you got to respect that. I love that for him. But it's time for QB to take the step in the direction. And look, man, if that part of the game has passed you by, I'm okay with it. Just get a guy in here who can do it.
Right.
Just get a guy in here to do it. It's been confirmed, so I feel comfortable sharing. My yearly off-season sit down with Hugh Freeze is next week. And these are some of the things that I plan to talk to him about. What is the plan? What is the vision? Where do you feel like Auburn is at in this process? Because every once in a while I have a check-in with him where I ask him, how close are you to the SEC championship? we're 2 classes away, Mike. We're 1 class away. We're a few guys away here or there. I'll be interested to hear after the spring where he feels like they're at. We don't always get to ask these questions and get detailed answers in the press conferences, the post, in the spring press conferences. The one on sit down is the time where we can really dig in. We talk a little bit before the interview starts, and then just say, "Hey, look, where is this program?" Can't wait for that conversation. I know you guys probably can't wait for it. So smash that super thanks button if you want to see Hugh Freeze and old Mike G sit down and talk football.
For sure. Devin jumps in. Gotta get me one of those shirts before the season starts. I'll wear it to the Baylor game. Love to see that. Go out there and book hard in Waco.
I think Devin lives in Texas.
She does. So she's gonna be at the game there. 5 War Report memberships given by AU alum. Thank you so much for that. Connor Hall jumps in. Joyner is the biggest loss. My heart wants Cam Brown to go crazy at Georgia Southern. Cam Brown's such a good dude, man. I definitely wish success on him. Hopefully he gets an opportunity to show out there at Georgia Southern. Connor jumps back in, says Freeze's job depends on Jackson Arnold. It's listen, that's not a crazy statement.
Or whoever's backing him up. If he doesn't work out, how quickly is he going to pull the plug?
Yeah.
And how comfortable does he feel going to number 2?
For sure. Nathan Long, you can see the difference in the team's quality based on transfers. All the defensive transfers went P4, and we gained mostly G5. All of the offense is going G5, and we mostly got mostly P4. That's an interesting take on things. Yeah,
all the
I don't know.
The transfers went to P4 schools, he's saying. And we got G5. I just think they needed less.
Yeah, well, to his point, he's saying that like a lot of the guys on defense were already good, and so the places they went were other Power 4 schools. And then the offense, the attrition, most of those guys were going to P4 schools, so they weren't already considered to be good, but they're getting in quality talent to fill that back in. So that's a decent take.
Yeah. The guys that weren't going to cut the snuff, so they ended up G5, right? And then you brought in P4 guys to replace them. Yeah.
For sure. BH says Baylor game will definitely set the tone for the season, win or lose. I mean, listen, you have plenty of time to bounce back, but it's one of those where like now you put way more pressure to get a win that you could have afforded to be a loss later.
Yeah, I think there's a trade-off here, Ike, when you look at the schedule. And the trade-off is this. If you look at that schedule, you lose Baylor, you better beat 2 out of these 3 from Oklahoma to Georgia. Right? Like I'm saying, if you win the Baylor game, you just got to get one of your first 3 SEC games and then go on a run after that. But you lose Baylor, and I'm sorry, they may need an epic run. After
like I said, you just put more pressure on yourself for what you need to get later if you don't get that one knocked out early. And with the conversations that are swirling around this program and Hugh Freeze's job security, like I don't know that you want to put yourself in that position, but we'll see. We will see what happens there. Any final thoughts, Mike G, before we get out of here, though, man? Good conversation about this transfer stuff, and I appreciate everybody who's been joining the conversation live chat.
Yeah, just they've done a great job. It's time to see it. We'll analyze it until fall camp starts and headed into media days. But this is somewhat of a celebration of the job that they've done in recruiting, and also making Auburn a place where top portal talent wants to come. So they've done a fantastic, and without the results on the field, quite honestly, they've done enough on the field, I think, to signal to guys like, hey, we're a few pieces away if you join the squad. Like, they played enough games close that the potential is there. And I'll tell you, I cover UCF as well, and they're a lot further away in this conversation. They were a 4-win football team. I'm telling you, Scott Frost has he needs time to fix what was happening down there in Orlando. He needs time. It's not easy. It's not easy when your results on the field are so poor that you really have nothing to sell other than money and, starting opportunity.
Yeah, at least
But
they're
they
in
can- I
a
mean,
P4 conference now, and so they can at least say, "Oh, listen, we'll get you on TV every now and then," type thing. But outside of
I
that,
don't.
right?
Who's the Big 12 TV con? Is it with Fox? I think they're with
Yeah.
Fox. That's really bad. That's really hard football to watch at times over there on Fox. I know people complain about what we got, but I'm telling you, I have a hard time watching college football on Fox.
All right, Mike G, tell the people ways they can support the War Report.
Now you guys know the deal. Hit that join button. $5.99 a month will get you there. We appreciate everybody for supporting us financially. Also, want to thank our sponsors, our title sponsor, the Rage Room. Addresses are there for you guys to go visit them, whether you're in Auburn, Opelika, or Birmingham. They've got a spot for you. They got axe throwing up there in Birmingham, so you can do some unique things up there. Also, our friends at the Rogue Shop. Visit rogueshop.com. Use code REPORT to get 15% off your Rogue Shop order. If you're looking to get fresh for the weekend, go find our friends at the Vibe Vault, 3462 Crosswinds Road, Sweet Eye City, Alabama. Not just barbers, lifestyle consultants. We appreciate them for sponsoring these segments. Get your book merch. Devin's going to get some to wear to the Baylor game. You should have some too. Visit thewarreport.com and click on that merchandise section, and you'll find all the War Report gear you can handle there. Check us out on podcast, every single podcast platform. The War Report is there, bringing you lots of great audio-only content. And if you're watching this on replay, do us a favor. If you want to show us some love, we love the Super Chats live, but Super Thanks is a way to do that after the fact. So hit that comment section. Let us know what you think and show us a little love with the Super Thanks.
Yes, indeed. Appreciate everybody who's been in here chatting with us. Make sure that before you go, make sure you share the content with somebody. Get that thumbs up active on your screen. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. You can follow us at The War Report on X and Instagram. TW Report on TikTok. Back at you with more great content later on this week. More Auburn Express, more film, more everything. Might try to sneak in another office hours. I did one yesterday kind of on a whim, so we'll see what's going on with that. But man, we are out of here until the next time. And as always, War Eagle. Peace.
War Eagle.